Well, welcome back, folks. I thought I'd share with you a little project I've been working on. It's just a small one, but I thought some folks might be interested in it. I'm shooting this video very early in the morning. In fact, it's about 6:45 a.m. It's late June 2025. And you might hear a little wind in the background. It's been really windy the last few days. And I'm shooting this early because of the heat. We've been in the middle of a heat wave for the last few days. Yesterday, for instance, it got up to 94 Fahrenheit, which is what, 34 or so degrees C. Right now, and it's 6:45 in the morning, it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 27 C. And the air, the humidity is so thick you could cut it with a knife. It's a very tropical feeling air mass. I went to school for a little while in southern Florida, and this is a very Florida-like, southern Florida summertime feeling heat. And you really aren't moving around much in the middle of the day. It's too oppressive. So I want to get this shot early. The sun's just starting to come up there in the east, and you can just see the beginning of the sunrise there on the wheel of the tractor. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about the seat. And you can see there the old temporary seat I put back in place. The seat that I put on it here a number of months ago, the replacement seat, which was a replacement for this which is not original to the tractor, I pulled off the seat and that seat spring because I'm going to paint them black. So I need to prepare that, or start that process of preparation. That'll be part of another video that I'll be doing, maybe two before it's over. I don't know yet, but I had to pull the seat off to prepare it to paint it black. And I thought, well, even though I'm not planning to use a tractor much in the near term or in the next few months really, I did want to be able to move it around if necessary in my pole barn, that kind of thing. So I just rigged up this temporary seat using the seat that came on it, which again I think is off a 4000 series Ford tractor based on its shape. The upholstery is missing, of course, but based on the shape of the pan and the color of the pan. But what I really want to talk about is the mount underneath here, the temporary mount, and that's what it is. That's just temporary. Let me pull that off and I'll show you a little more detail what I did. That's the seat mount there. I've just pulled the seat off, which is over here to the left. I'll get to that in a minute, but you can see those two studs sticking up out of the rear housing of the tractor. That is the original configuration. One of those studs I did have to replace last winter. You might recall that because they had a bolt in there, and wasn't correct. So I found a stud and replaced it. But that's the mount that goes up into the bottom of the spring normally with some nuts, washers and nuts, and I use that to my advantage. So let's take a look at the seat itself. This is the seat upside down, of course, that I just pulled off the tractor. And all I did is I took a plate. You can see this is a piece of 3/8 plywood. I needed it to be thin because I wanted it to fit down over those studs that we just talked about. There's two holes right here. I don't know how well those come through in the video, but there's two holes here, and I didn't want to have to replace the studs with bolts or make any other changes to the tractor. So I needed a piece of wood that was thin enough to allow the studs to protrude, to put the nuts on from the inside here. And that's why I left the ends, both of these ends here are open, so that I could get in there with a wrench. I can put the nuts on and then tighten those nuts up with a wrench to pull this down onto the rear of the tractor. So I needed a piece thin enough. This is this 3/8 plywood I had in my scrap box. Could have used a piece of aluminum, but it wasn't really necessary. I measured the height of the seat spring, and as it turned out, 2x4s, or 2x4 standard dimensions, 3.5 inches, is pretty close to what the spring height was off the rear end of the tractor. So I just cut two pieces of 2x4s to about the right length. No great math went into it. Attached that 3/8 plywood to the 2x4s. Now remember, this is upside down. I just used 3 screws on each side, and then this is a 3/4 inch piece of plywood here, again from my scrap bin. I don't know if you can see in there very well or not. And I attached this piece of plywood to the opposite side of the 2x4s. And then on the top, I just used a couple of wood screws Nothing special. Go through the pan and into that top plate right here. Now I could have used bolts here instead of wood screws. I thought about using bolts with nuts on the outside, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. I'm not going to be doing heavy-duty plow work in the back 40 with this piece. It's just temporary so that I can move the tractor around the yard and in the barn, and if I need to over the next few months or so. You can see the wood screws protruding right there. And I have driven the tractor around the yard just a little bit, make sure it worked. It's fine. It fits me comfortably, and for the purposes of a temporary seat, it would be heavy enough. I wouldn't plow the back 40 with it all day every day, but it is sufficient for what I need. And I thought some of you might be interested in seeing this temporary mount that I've rigged up. It took me maybe 45 minutes, and probably 15 minutes of that was rounding up the materials, the wood, the hardware, and figuring out what I was going to do. The actual construction, maybe 30-40 minutes kind of thing. But that's what I ended up with. So there's the seat back in place. In terms of these holes through the pan here, one of them was already here. This one, the back one, was there was a drain hole here. I just had to make it a little bit larger. This front hole I had to drill, but normally I don't like to deface original hardware parts like this, but this seat is probably never going to be used for its original intention anyway. Again, I don't even know where the original tractor is. Who knows? It's probably long gone. But so I didn't fret too much about drilling that hole. But that's its in-use position, and again, it's worked out really well so far. What little I've used it. That's going to be it for this video today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.